The subject of lying and learning the lesson that honesty is the best policy has been covered by many books, especially in children's books over the years. The stories often involve the main protagonist or sometimes a side character, finding themselves lying in various situations, keeping the truth to themselves, and eventually letting the truth emerge when the time calls for it. Proving a saying that goes, the longer you wait to come clean, the dirtier things get. The book that I'm going to be reviewing today is one of those books that touch upon this common subject. It's called Ernie's Little Lie, from the Sesame Street Start to Read book series. It was written by Dan Elliott and illustrated by Joe Matthew. The story begins with Ernie and Bert walking along the street on Sesame Street until Ernie spots something interesting in the store window in Hooper's store. It turns out to be a fancy paint set with a wide variety of colors of paints within it. Ernie is very impressed by this and wishes he could have the paint set. Bert informs him that it's possible that he could have the paints, as the paint set is the prize for an art contest that Mr. Hooper, the owner of Hooper's store, is running. Upon hearing this, Ernie gets very excited and runs home to paint a picture, leaving a surprised and puzzled Bert behind. Reading this part of the story, I was just as surprised and puzzled as Bert was. In my experience of reading Sesame Street books, it has not been established that Ernie had much interest in art, nor has he been much of an artist. However, it has been mentioned and shown in other books that Ernie has a cousin named Fred, who is a very talented artist. So I don't really know exactly why Ernie wants to win the paint set. My guess is that this concept was invented in order for the story to work. As soon as he gets home, Ernie gets out his own paint set and paper. He is just about to start painting when the mailman knocks on the door. The mailman gives him a letter from his aforementioned cousin Fred. Within the envelope contains a fantastic painting of a tiger that Fred painted for Ernie. Ernie is very impressed by his cousin's painting and thinks that it's much better than anything that he could ever paint. This gives Ernie an idea. What if he entered his cousin's tiger painting in the contest and told Mr. Hooper that he painted it himself? It would guarantee a winning entry for him, and the paint set would be his. Luckily, Ernie thinks better of this idea and decides that it would be wrong to take his cousin's painting and claim it as his own work, which is basically plagiarism from an adult standpoint. So he hangs his cousin's tiger painting on the wall and begins painting his own painting of his favorite thing in the whole world, his rubber ducky. This part of the book really impressed me. In most stories that have a moral of telling the truth, the characters usually lie and keep the lie going until the story calls for them to tell the truth, or they know that lying is wrong, but they do it anyway in order to make themselves look good and avoid the consequences until the truth emerges in one form or another. In this case, the author did a great job of portraying that Ernie clearly has a conscience and knows that lying is wrong and that it's better to win the paint set fair and square than to win it with someone else's painting when someone else should have won it. I give a lot of credit to the author for including a moment like this in the story. Bert enters the room and spots Cousin Fred's tiger painting on the wall next to where Ernie was sitting, working on his painting. Bert is very impressed, thinking that Ernie has made that painting. Before Ernie could have a chance to explain that the painting was not his, though, Bert takes it off the wall and runs off with it with the intention of entering it into the art contest at Hooper's store. After this happens, Ernie is sad and troubled. He puts his finished rubber ducky painting in his pocket and vows to go to Hooper's store to tell the truth, further displaying his active conscience. Along the way, he meets his friend Big Bird, who tells him that everyone at Hooper's store loves the tiger painting and is sure that it will win the top prize of the contest. This moment only further amplifies Ernie's sad and troubled feelings. He sits down and thinks to himself how much he wants that paint set, but lying is bad too. He also wonders how he got into this mess in the first place. My answer to that would be not being able to speak up at the right time and place when Bert thought the tiger painting was his. Ernie could have told Big Bird that painting wasn't his, but I guess the author thought that if Ernie did such a thing, the story would have ended there and wouldn't have much of an impact on readers. Ernie arrives at Hooper's store and sees Bird, Oscar the Grouch, and Mr. Hooper gathered there for the art contest. Bird, Oscar, and Big Bird have made their own paintings, which consist of a broom, a trash can, and a sunflower. Seeing the illustrations on the pages where this moment takes place in the story, I have to say that it looks like the other characters put very little effort into their artworks, as if the illustrator did that on purpose, to set up Cousin Fred's tiger painting to be the clear winner of the contest. Mr. Hooper comments that all the artworks entered in the contest are good, announces that the tiger painting is the winner of the contest, and hands the paint set to Ernie. Big Bird likes the tiger painting so much that he asks Ernie if he could have the painting to hang by his nest. This is all it takes for Ernie to start crying and admits that the tiger painting is not his, to the astonishment of everyone gathered there. He shows everyone the rubber ducky painting that he made. It's at that moment that Bert realizes that this is what Ernie wanted to tell him that he didn't give Ernie a chance to say earlier in the story. After putting his arm around Ernie, Bert tells Ernie that it's not always easy to tell the truth, and he did the right thing. Feeling much better from the bad feelings he had throughout the story, Ernie tells everyone that he will send the paint set to Fred, as he's the one who really wanted. Everyone cheers, and Bert tells Ernie that he painted the best picture of Rubber Ducky he's ever seen. The end. My final thoughts on this book. Among all the books I've read that focus on the subject of lying and telling the truth, this one is decent and serves its purpose well. Ernie is known to be a mischievous character, in contrast to Bert being more tame. But in this book, it's nice to see that Ernie has a thoughtful, gentle side to him, especially at the point in the story where he's tempted to lie about his cousin's painting, but then decides that it's wrong to be doing that. Ernie is also known to be an outspoken character as well, but it seemed a little out of character for him to not speak up about the painting. But it's fitting for the moment when Bert gets so impressed by the painting that he doesn't give Ernie a chance to explain about it. The story flows nicely, and I can tell that the author really knew how to build up on the events that happened throughout the story that led to Ernie telling the truth, setting a good example for the target audience of this book. The illustrations of this book are gorgeous. The artist has a nice style that translates well with the overall feel of the Sesame Street universe, including the likenesses of all the familiar characters throughout, especially human characters like Mr. Hooper. The characters are very expressive and really portray the situations well, especially with the wide range of emotions that Ernie goes through throughout the story. The details were paid attention to as well, including the tiger painting itself. Overall, would I recommend this book to others? Absolutely. The story is interesting, and I think it did a nice job portraying the moral and showing the various emotions one goes through in the event of lying and telling the truth. I hope you enjoyed my review of this book. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. If you have any suggestions for future reviews, please leave them for me in the comments. Have a nice day, everyone, and thank you very much for watching.